Hey everybody, Onaji Barnes here, having some conversations with my fellow investor Gilbert. He's doing all kinds of things, landlord, builder, developer, killing the game. Gilbert, for those people that don't really know you, tell a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do.
Got you, man. Appreciate you for having me tonight.
Sure.
So my name is Gilbert Okoronkwo. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Grace Building Company. We're a niche real estate development company where we specialize in 2 to 4 door development of income properties. We also do some ADU, so pleasure to be on your show.
Cool. So first thing first, when and how did you fall in love with real estate?
So I fell in love in real estate. It was kind of a process for me because in my W-2 world, I work with commercial real estate investors, and I work in a sales role, and I always noticed how all of these successful people, they always had real estate in their portfolio. So being that I was young at the time, I wanted to learn a little bit more. So it was a gradual process for me, but I think we're almost coming full circle now.
Cool. So you mentioned W-2, so that means you got a 9 to 5.
Yes, sir.
So you're doing all this stuff, which we're gonna tell people about all the stuff that you're doing,
Yep.
along with a 9 to 5. How does that work?
So, I mean, I think it's just a process. My wife and I, we both are in it together, and we both have our 9 to 5s. And I think it derives from mistakes in my past. So I'm always open and honest with people. Like, I didn't start investing until I was in my 30s. So graduate from college, you have a decent job, you're working, and one of the mistakes I made is that I didn't invest in my 20s. And so working 9 to 5, I figured out, learning from mistakes in my past, I was able to invest along with my wife in a company that we both worked for at the time. So still have investment positions there, but we kind of learned just from mistakes of our past and not investing while we were younger.
So, Gilbert, what a lot of people may or may not know, because you're doing a lot of stuff, but primarily you build.
Yes, sir.
And you build duplexes.
Yep.
And you build duplexes in gentrifying areas.
Yep.
How did you come up with that strategy? Like, what light came off and say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna start building today. How did that start?
So it started, so my wife and I, while we were dating before we were married, we'd go to church every Sunday, and my wife, her family is multi-generational from the Sunnyside area in Houston, and so we just noticed how there was a lot of vacant land and unused property, and so we started to dig around a little bit, and it led us to new development. At the time, the way I kind of got into it is I would just drive the locations and see other new builders and kind of learn from other people and just get a little piece from just by talking with other people and understanding kind of what they were doing. So in my perspective, I tried some Burr. Burr didn't work out for me as good as I would have liked it to, but then when I got in the new construction realm, it just was something I really gravitated to and just continue to learn to this day.
Now, within new construction, right? Because, one, let's just talk about what's the benefits of new construction versus, let's say, a Burr. When we're talking about Burr, you're talking about a basic like HGTV rehab, right?
Yeah.
So, what are the benefits of building versus somebody like myself that does rehab?
So one of the cool things about building, number one, you control the process from start to finish. So obviously you're going to have a new foundation, you're going to be in charge of everything from the ground up. And so it just lends to a lot of different benefits, especially if you're going to end up keeping the property. Obviously you're not going to have the maintenance issues as much as you probably would in an older property. And then from a tax benefit strategy, you have the bonus depreciation and a lot of other different cool things that, lend to credibility with new development.
So when I think of development and I think of builders, I think of, the big boys and they build their homes, spec home, and they selling them people, whatever. Talk about where you started from that perspective to where you're at now and where you're trying to go as a builder, right? Like, should be people who say, hey, build, go sell. Where are you at starting and where you headed?
So in our process, when we first got into it, one thing I noticed people, they were building a lot of traditional single family homes. And we knew at the time, just given the data and where kind of Houston was heading, we wanted to build a product that allowed us multiple outs, whether or not we would be able to sell it or keep it. And obviously it just made a lot of sense to start with duplexes. The last duplexes that were built in the areas where we build were right before the Great Recession of 2007, 2008. So there was this gap where there weren't new construction duplexes built. So that's when we kind of came in before traditional lending was lending for those purposes, and we kind of are proud to say that we kind of helped establish kind of a lot of the momentum you see in certain markets when it comes to duplexes.
And that's dope. And you just said something I got to pivot, right? Because whenever I hear something that I love that's an ism of mine, I have to pivot, right? So you said multiple outs.
Yep.
And you know, it's a big one for me. I'm very big about this. So talk about, you said multiple outs, multiple exit strategies. What is it referring to? Why is this important for real estate investors in general?
It's just important because, number one, it just gives you that flexibility of not coming to a position where you're going to be stuck. Because one of the things I noticed when I was talking to a lot of other developers and seeing their process when they were building traditional single-family homes, there might come a period where they're done with the house and it kind of sits there on the market for 3 to 6 months without any income coming in and without generating any revenue for them. So it was just like a layup for us to consider building the duplexes. That way, whether or not we kept them or built to sell them, we would at least be able to generate some revenue day one once the property was ready to be occupied.
All right, so let's get into the little nitty gritty tips or whatever. So let me tell you personal. So for me, I got a couple tenants. I'll just tell you one that happened a few months ago. I got a tenant that he's in construction. Okay, he in construction. And you know, all the tenants always trying to hustle and they late on rent, try to get some discounts, let me do some work for you, Mr. Barnes, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we were doing some construction in the apartment complex that he was living in. And he rose up, he said, hey man, I got all this material. I got some flooring. You want some of this flooring? I was like, yeah, I want some of this flooring. What you want for it? And I know what flooring costs, $2,000-$3,000 a square foot type of stuff or whatever. And I'm like, man, how much you got? We counted up. He had about 1,500 square feet. And I'm like, you know, like, what you getting for it? Oh, well, you know, what you talking about? And I offered like $500. And he took it, and he took it, right?
Yeah.
And but you all bet know, like, this is probably like $3 or $4 grand worth of flooring. And of course, I'm like, where you get it from? He's like, oh yeah, we're working on the job site. And I know what that means, right?
Absolutely.
So as a builder, you know, and we being in the industry, we kind of know a lot of product and materials kind of just goes missing, right? It just goes missing. It disappears off the job site. That's a way for the workers to kind of make extra on top, whatever, all that kind of stuff. What tips or tricks, what do you do to mitigate that issue, right? Lost materials, or frankly, the guy stealing it, or, you know, some dudes or some neighborhood guys rolling up stealing from you. What?
Man, that's a great question, Anaja, and it's a very important question. So I think I learned from mistakes from the past. I would say one of the first things you want to do once you get into new development to mitigate some of your construction loss or theft, you actually have to form relationships with trades and subcontractors, meaningful relationships where there's always an exchange of value. That's important. And then something that often gets slept on, I would say also you have to form advocates within the area you're building. So that's big for us. We love to talk to neighbors next door if they're going to be, or across the street. So we get people to understand what we're trying to achieve, and then they help advocate for us. And frankly, a lot of times they'll keep an eye on the property as well when you're not there.
That's a big point. That works for builders and landlords yourself. And that's the thing where I think, and this is just for the people right now, online, I hear a lot from people say, I don't want people to know that I'm the investor. I don't want people to know that I'm the landlord. I don't want nobody to know me. That's a place where you could get hurt, because if the community don't know who you are, they don't know that you're cool or whatever, or just know your name, then you can be some random corporation all you want.
Exactly.
And when you're a random corporation, the community might treat you as such.
Exactly. They'll definitely treat you as such. And I think for us, it's just kind of been a growth and learning process. You be surprised to learn a lot of the community, they actually embrace what we do. You know, they love the changes they see coming in the community, and then also from the aspect of just also knowing that this product is also for them. It's not like we're bringing a bunch of outside people into the community. We've sold duplexes to lifelong residents in places like Sunnyside and South Park, and we've helped them become landlords and investors and start their investment journey. So when people start to see that authenticity, I think it helps lend to your credibility and just how much they'll advocate for you.
And you might get some deals out of that, right?
Absolutely, you'll get some deals. People will start talking to you, telling you what's going on in the neighborhood, new events, and also if there are any pieces of land or property for sale, sometimes you're the first to know.
So let's switch gears for a second. You know, for me, I do a lot of coaching, and I coach. I end up coaching a lot of couples. And I might get a husband and he start talking to me or whatever, and he got his wife or whatever, or the wife will start talking to me or whatever. One person might hear from me and not the other. And one of the first things I tell people is like, before we do a country club, I need both of y'all on country club.
Facts.
That's one of my first things.
Facts.
And as a married guy, why, is it important? Like, give some people, the couples, a few tips on just being married in real estate. Why is that even a term, married in real estate? Like, why does that even...
Married in real estate, they go together in the term because, they're partnerships. And so I think anytime you have a partnership, there has to be open and honest dialogue, communication. And I think for my wife and I, what's so big and important is that we share the upside and the downside. It's not always going to be good. And I think when you guys are able to communicate some of the downside and also work through that, it just helps to the credibility of what you're doing. And I think from the perspective of a married guy like yourself, and Najee, like, my wife and I were able to be brutally honest with each other as far as like what our goals are and what our long-term goals are. And so when you put that together, it just lends to a great situation and a great learning opportunity too, because we're always evolving as real estate investors, just as we're always evolving as a married couple.
And so just to kind of add on to that, because look, we're just gonna keep it real here. There's a lot, some of the most on social media, you can log on social media right now and you're gonna see black men and black women going back and forth with each other, talking about how marriage sucks and it's not a good deal, blah, blah, and marriage is not a good contract and this, that, and the other, and all this little fight, blah, 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 right? So what would you say to the people right now on the benefits of being married in general, particularly as far as wealth, growth and preservation is concerned?
So the benefits of being married and how they go hand in hand with wealth preservation and wealth growth and development, obviously it's a partnership thing, and then it's the alliance as well. So oftentimes in a marriage, you have two families behind one couple as opposed to maybe it not being that case. And then also the cool thing that we get to experience as well by being married and being in real estate is that we get to network with other like-minded couples and individuals. So you kind of grow your network of people around you that'll help kind of support your ideas and your growth. And I think that's so important because in today's age of social media, you get so many different concepts pushed at you, but what we don't get to see is what's the real meaning and agenda behind some of these messages, especially these negative messages and tropes about marriage. For me, I've been married now 14 years. I do it again in a heartbeat. And I think it's important to know too that when you're in these type of situations, it's just the alliance that you build with your partner and being able to experience good times and bad times together, because social media also will lend you and have you thinking that everything is always gold and magic, but that's not the reality. So I would say to people out there, marriage is definitely a good thing and something we need to really embrace because it helps produce community. In my opinion, you can't have generational wealth without community and without family, and the cornerstone of that is marriage.
Awesome, man. Look, keeping it real, last time I checked, 2 checks are better than 1.
Absolutely, 2 checks are a lot better than 1 check, and 1 mortgage payment is a lot better than having 2 separate rents or 2 separate mortgages. So facts.
Yeah, and guess it ain't even just about marriage. Some of y'all, to get started, you might need to just get started with your sister, your brother, or whatever. Yep. So this whole idea that we're gonna have to start to, having 2 households and when you could have 1, that might be the best springboard to get started in addition to having a W-2. So somebody out here is gonna watch this, right? And they're gonna say, I want to build 2. And by the way, how many duplexes have you built?
We probably built close to 45 duplexes.
45 duplexes, y'all. That's a lot of coin. And just, and just average price. And what are you averaging price right now?
So today the average price will probably be around $500,000 for our 2-bedroom floor plans. But if you're looking for something larger, we also have that. They run up to about $600,000. But years ago, remember these same floor plans started at $220,000, $250,000. So that's the beautiful part of this too. Real estate, as you know, it goes up over time. It goes up over time, and with inflation, you're protected when it comes to collecting rent and having real estate in your portfolio.
So you've seen prices of your duplex go from $225,000 to north of $600,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's happened in such a short amount of time. Obviously, we know COVID was a part of that, but if you follow the migration data and a lot of different things happening in our market here in Houston, this trend is going to continue. I'm betting big personally, my wife and I, in these areas, and I think you should too.
So with that being said, somebody's watching this, they're saying, hey, I want to get started. I want a $600,000 asset too. What tips would you give for a newbie developer on getting started? Like, how can they get started? How can they get some of this information out of you?
I think some tips I would give to newbies when it comes to the 2 to 4 door space. Form relationships with people that have been doing it. I think that was big for me in the beginning. I formed relationships with builders who were in the market early. So a lot of those guys I still talk to occasionally. That's huge because you don't know what you don't know, right? So when you form these relationships with people that have been doing it, they oftentimes, especially if there's a genuine exchange of value, they oftentimes share a lot of different cool things and tips with you.
I like that concept of general exchange of value. Guys, look, if you're gonna come out here, you're gonna holler at my man Gilbert, or you're gonna holler at somebody, come with value, lead with value. What can you offer somebody? You're trying to get some information from them, so don't be on some take stuff.
Facts.
Figure out what you can offer. That's one of the best things you can do. Network and lead with value. So with that being said, I appreciate you coming to join us today. Gilbert, where can people find you?
So on Instagram, you can find me at Profit Onye. That's at PROFITONYE. And you can find me also on Twitter at Houston Duplex.
Cool. We'll check you guys out next time. Thanks.
We're calling all investors. Are you ready to unlock the power of real estate and create a pathway to financial freedom, whether or not you're early entry or looking to scale up? Introducing the Wealth Mastermind Academy, where dreams become reality and success is within your reach. As a member of the Academy, you'll join a supportive community of like-minded individuals who are driven to achieve more. Our members have already achieved extraordinary results with over $150 million in their real estate portfolios and counting. Gain access to our exclusive learning modules, expert webinars, and mentorship program, all designed to propel you towards your real estate goals. Connect with industry leaders, form invaluable relationships, and unlock the limitless opportunities for growth. Join the Wealth Mastermind Academy today and embark on your journey to financial freedom. For more information, go ahead and visit the website www.wealthmastermindacademy.com or click the link in the description. Now back to today's video.